Let me say something that might sound a little harsh, but it's just storytelling reality. Christine, Janelle, and Meri are liked because they are written by circumstances as protagonists. And Kody and Robyn, they are just doomed to never escape the black hole of villainry. Not because they're the worst people on television. I want to be very clear about that. Not because they're incapable of change, but simply because once an audience has emotionally assigned you a role in a long running story, you don't just get to rewrite it with a talking head interview and a few platitudes. Storytelling 101: protagonist versus antagonist. In storytelling, the antagonist doesn't have to be a person. It can be time, incompetence, misunderstanding, social systems, bad circumstances, yada, 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 etc., etc., etc. But it is always easier, especially for production, to personify the problem, to give the audience someone to root against. So when a story needs a face for all the conflict, that person or those people becomes the embodiment of everything that's going wrong. In Sister Wives, that role belongs to Kody and Robyn, hands down. Not just as individuals, it's bigger than that. They're symbols of favoritism, power imbalance, emotional neglect, financial manipulation, and control. They didn't just participate in a conflict, they became the conflict. The original intent, a love story, and a huge misread. I firmly believe this show was originally produced with the idea that Kody and Robyn were supposed to be the love story. The OG3 were supposed to be the obstacles. I mean, think about it. The framing was this is true love. They just don't understand what's going on with these two. They're jealous. Remember that? Jealousy is the thief of joy. They're jealous and they're going to have to be jealous because it's inevitable. They can't just let go of the old system. They just want to do things the way we used to, and they're not accepting his new wife. But here's where production miscalculated the audience. They assumed viewers would emotionally identify with the man following his heart and the woman entering into the family for love. Instead, the audience overwhelmingly identified with the women who were losing their marriages in real time, raising children largely alone and by themselves, and being emotionally and financially sidelined and trying to make sense of a system that suddenly no longer worked for them. Robyn wasn't seen as the romantic heroine. She was perceived as the mistress who became the wife. And once that perception took hold, her character arc and development was over. Now, who did we watch lose? This is the key to why the OG3 are liked. We watched Christine lose for 16 seasons. We watched Janelle lose for 18 seasons. We watched Meri lose almost the entire series until her first real moment of self-worth, which didn't arrive until season, 20 in the next to last episode. We didn't just hear about their pain, we watched it unfold. Missed anniversaries, emotional abandonment, financial strain, public humiliation, children being deprioritized, all that. And because we watch them lose season after season, their eventual wins feel earned. When Christine finally leaves, it feels like justice. When Janelle chooses independence, it feels overdue. When Meri finally stops begging for crumbs, it feels like vindication. That's protagonist storytelling. Why Kody and Robyn can't escape the villain role. Now compare that to Kody and Robyn. We are constantly told they are struggling as a couple, but what we are never shown, real conflict, real disagreements, real sacrifices, or real consequences. Oh, yeah, they'll stand outside. Oh, yeah, I feel bad because I want to see my kids. You got to see your kids. I want to see my kids. You got to be in touch with your kids. That's not a disagreement. And that's not really a struggle, right? Their narrative is we're fine. Our only hardship is having to deal with the OG3 and they rotten ass kids, which from a storytelling perspective makes them look like the people causing the suffering, not enduring it. We have never watched them truly lose. And without visible loss, there can be no redemption arc. Why bad people can still be heroes. John Wick example. Some people may argue that audiences will never root for Kody and Robyn because they are irredeemable. This is why I always use the John Wick reference as my comparison in this instance. As a character, John Wick is a mafia hitman, a legendary supreme killer, literally named Baba Yaga, or as the Russians refer to it, the boogeyman, or even still,
we call him Baba Yaga.
The boogeyman?
Well, John wasn't exactly the boogeyman. He was the one you sent to kill the boogeyman.
Objectively, not a good guy. Not a good guy at all. But when do we meet him? We meet him grieving his wife, trying not to become who he used to be, clinging to the last thing she gave him, a puppy. Then some punk ass gangsters break into his house, beat him up, kill his dog, then steal his car. We watched him lose first. So when he became violent, we go on the journey with him. We root for him. Hell, we cheered for him the whole time, overlooking the fact that he didn't just get to be the gangster boogeyman for being a Boy Scout. He slumped 439 people over 4 films, 77 of which in the first movie alone, all over a dog and a car. And he was the hero. Why do we root for him? Because we saw his humanity before we ever saw or knew of his brutality. In Sister Wives, who did we watch lose? Here's a hint. Not Kody, not Robyn. We watched OG3 lose. So when they walked away, the audience doesn't just support them, we celebrate them. Why the kids matter to the fan base. Another layer, the children. We didn't just watch the wives suffer. We watched their kids suffer through their mothers. Neglect, broken relationships with their father, feeling replaced. So, of course, the audience is emotionally invested in their graduations, their relationships, their weddings, their healing, anything going on with them. Robyn's children, by contrast, have been largely shielded from the audience. So when their lives are shown, we generally don't care. And I've even joked before, at this point, it would make more sense for Meri's best friend Jen to get a TLC-sponsored wedding special than Robyn's kids because, unironically, we know Jen better. Not just because of her support of Meri, but because of the sharing of her medical struggles for her husband and the struggles that they're going through. And by the way, please put hearts in the chat and comment for section 4 in support of him and hoping he has a speedy recovery. My takeaway in this whole situation, you can't ask an audience to care about victories they've never been emotionally invested into. The reality TV trap, performing instead of living. This is also why the show itself is failing. Reality TV used to promise, we will show you real people living real lives. Starting with An American Family in 1971 to the talk show era to ultimately what we know as modern day real reality TV in the real world.
This is the true story.
True story.
Of 7 strangers picked to live in a loft
and have their lives taped
to find out what happens.
What?
When people stop being polite. Could you get the phone?
and start getting real.
The real world.
The contract with the audience was always, life is messy, and here you'll see the mess. But now the Browns aren't living on camera. They're managing their brands on camera. Everything is, what I would do is, my truth is, I don't feel safe sharing that. They aren't showing life. They're narrating it. And while all of them are guilty of this, Kody and Robyn suffer the most from it. because they were already positioned as the antagonist. When villains start giving speeches instead of letting us see their losses, the audience checks out. Why even the wins don't land anymore? Christine left Kody, went on a few dates, met David, married him. Bam. In TV time, it feels effortless. So even her happiness, while deserved, doesn't emotionally hit the way her suffering once did. Janelle, not dating, living independently, tells us she's happy being alone. Meri acts like she's above the dating event she goes to. In short order, she's hanging out with a new guy and everything is chill. But then again, where's the vulnerability? Where's the awkwardness? Where's the pain? I can clip, analyze, and declare that this is a hard-won victory after the struggle. All that's left is talking about life instead of living it on camera. So here's the reality. Whether due to sympathy or empathy, Christine, Janelle, and Meri are liked because we watch them suffer. Kody and Robyn are disliked because they were framed as the source of that suffering. They will stay villains, not because villains can't become heroes, John Wick, not because redemption is impossible, John Wick again, but because in storytelling, you must show the loss before you earn the win. And for 20 seasons, we never saw Kody and Robyn lose. They were written by production choices, by narrative framing, and by their own need for control as the embodiment of everything that went wrong. Once that happens, you can't just talk your way out of the hole. You have to drop your shovel and authentically live your way out of it. And the cameras and fans aren't seeing that. If you like anything that I've said, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe, ring the bell for notification, hype the video. That's my take. I'm James, and this has been my take on reality, and I'm out. 'Cause I've been living life.